You are the second person that I've talked to who, for legal reasons, is not in the U.S. and I've had to do a Zoom interview with, because I typically don't do Zoom interviews. So, could you sort of explain your geographical situation that you're in right now, and
Certainly.
how that ties into the FBI and the alleged leaked audio that you posted?
Absolutely. So after I got out of prison in 2016, over my involvement with the number of leaks and investigations into Palantir, H.P. Gary, Booz Allen Hamilton, Cambridge Analytica, firms that later went on to get caught over and over again interfering with democratic elections. Uh, about a few months after I got released, I got rearrested by the federal marshals for giving interviews to Vice and to PBS. There was no paperwork, no warrants, no Bureau of Prisons documentation, no paperwork whatsoever. I was released 5 days later after one of my publishers paid a New York law firm $10,000 to basically go to them and threaten them and say, hey, we're going to take us to court right now, and it's not going to look good. So they let me out after that. After that point, I announced several times publicly on Democracy Now! And on Russia Today and a few other outlets that as soon as my probation ended and I was allowed to, I would be leaving the U.S. for good. And I finally did that at the end of 2020, went to Antigua. From there on, came to the UK and found out last year when I received 6 hours of secretly recorded audio made by Val Broeksmit, who is the son of a Deutsche Bank executive who supposedly killed himself back in 2015. One of several Deutsche Bank executives who had that little cluster of suicides all of a sudden at that time. Found out from him, or from these recordings he had made, of a meeting that he had with the FBI at the LA office in the very end of 2020, that I was again a target, as it were, and that was further verified when I was arrested for my involvement in this protest against expanded police powers against protesters. When I was arrested last year on the canal boat that I live in with my fiance, arrested, brought to the Metropolitan Police Station, and overheard one of the Metropolitan officers, one of the arresting officers, telling one of the desk clerks that this is the guy at the FBI that they want, the guy I told you about earlier. So, gleaned from that that I was in trouble and that they were going to ship me, and that turned out to be the case. They put me in an immigration's removal center the next day. There were some falsified documents that the home office put that claimed that my visa had been up after 5 months rather than 6 months. This is something that's mentioned in one of the articles that came out later. Anyway, when I got out, that's when I got the recordings of the 5 hours of audio. So between that and a few other things that came up and some other sources I can't talk about, it became pretty abundantly clear that that the FBI was back on the rampage, and I have no way of knowing, despite reporters having gone to the FBI and asked, "Hey, what are you after him for?" No way of knowing what charges they would have this time, or even if the charges are ready yet. They would be sealed, presumably. I also have no way of knowing to what extent me releasing that 6 hours of audio that makes some of the FBI agents in question look very, very bad, whether that might have caused them to back off. Likewise, I have no way of knowing if the fact that the guy who made those recordings, a former colleague of ours, Val Brooks, that I mentioned, who turned against us to the FBI in order to get help with a child custody case. I have no way of knowing if his unusual death a month and a half ago, and the fact that his role remains missing. I have no way of knowing if my book released in January that they are very well familiar with, I don't know if that's going to scare them off further, or the fact that there's a screenplay. But bottom line is, I've been in the UK. I've been splitting my time between London, where my girlfriend and I have a canal boat that we live in, and her mother's house here in Bournemouth. So bottom line is that the FBI wants another fight, and they've got one.
So, what would happen if you came to the U.S. right now? Would anything happen if you landed in the U.S. tomorrow? Would you be in trouble immediately? What would happen? What do you think would happen?
It seemed from what happened with last year with the whole immigration with the House home office and some of the documents we later got from the police in which they refer to the quote political elements unquote of my case when I was at the station and a few other things that at least as of last year I would have been escorted on a plane back to the U.S. from that immigration center. To an airport, and I would probably have been arrested right there by FBI agents waiting for me. But as it happens, I was right before they were able to put me on a plane. We were able to get declare asylum. My girlfriend Sylvia Mann, who's an activist and has been involved in this stuff before, managed to get ITN, a major London law firm, to get their top asylum lawyer, who also specializes, along with other legal entities they're working with in national security law, journalism law, and so forth. Got them involved, so they had to let me out, and so basically, the odds are now less that where I return to the U.S., I'll be arrested because I feel like they know from experience from the time they had me in prison facing 105 years, and then tried to get me to cooperate, then threatened to indict my mom, and I said go ahead, indict my mom, and then they tried to get me to plead to one of these counts of linking to documents that would have been very dangerous as a precedent for other journalists and researchers. They know how I play this, and they know that there's enough documentation from the past that would make anyone involved, any FBI agent involved, any DOJ official involved, it would make it. There would be an opportunity cost for anyone involved in another illicit prosecution of either me or anyone around me. Not the FBI, not the DOJ, individual agents. We'll think hard upon whether or not it's worth it to them to carry out whatever instructions they're getting from higher up. I'll put it that way. So actually, they might still try to arrest me. I've seen them do dumb shit before. I've seen the UK, screw up. Just in the last year and a half, I've seen them screw up some things that they could have easily handled more effectively. But I'm not going back to the U.S. to give it a try. I'm just going to see what happens from here. I do have this asylum case ongoing, and this is the perfect opportunity for me. Between that and the book release and some other projects, we have some things that will be launching in January and coming out. It's going to be increasingly difficult for any governments to come after me unless they have a really strong case involving, really clear evidence. And they've never had that before. I don't see them having that in the future.